So you know what I think trips people up a lot when you're on your spiritual journey, or if you're trying to be a good person or a good Christian, good Catholic, whatever you're trying to be, when you're somebody who holds yourself accountable and continuously falls off, which will happen because there is no such thing as perfection. I think people beat themselves up a lot because we're usually the ones that will burn ourselves down on the path. And I think those type of people who continuously try and strive to be better, you will falter more often because you are trying to claim that place. And I think if there were more people in society who helped each other hold themselves accountable, we would be better off in general. But speaking for myself personally, I know most of the reasons why I feel stressed, feel sad, feel angry, feel despair is because I know the goal and I know where I want to be, but I know I'm falling short of that with all fault of my own. And it's not to sound like a martyr or to sound like guilty, but all of the things that go wrong are usually something that I've done. And it's almost like throwing the match onto the gasoline, and if that fire wouldn't have started unless you started it yourself. And so I think that's where a lot of good Christian, especially good Christian men, start to feel the deeper wrath of their own frustrations, is because they know where they want to get. They're going towards it, but all of the hiccups along the way are things that they themselves create, falling back into the sin, falling back into lust, falling back into anger, falling back into judgment, falling back into comparison. It's not an outside force that does that. It's you yourself that isn't disciplined enough to hold yourself back from yourself. But there's beauty in that, because if you weren't trying to follow the Lord or trying to be on that righteous path, you wouldn't even know it. You'd just be falling right back into sin, and you'd be living that way. So the man who knows the path he wants to be on and recognizes your shortcomings, you're always going to have to get up and pick yourself up, and get back up and pick yourself up, and get back on the horse and keep trying. Those people like St. Augustine, those people like St. Thomas Aquinas, they talk about it. They've lived experience. You're always going to be perpetually picking yourself back up and shaking off the sin. The only perfect man that ever lived was Jesus. Think about it. If we can try to attain a smidgen of what he was, or what some of these men before us were, then we're there. So I think that's something I have to remind myself, and I know there are plenty of other men out there that struggle with the same issues that someone like me has. We're trying to attain the unattainable, but if you can hold yourself a little bit more to account and bite your tongue before you lash out, or take a breath before you, just any example of what your vices are, because the devil's always working. He knows you just like you know yourself, and they're going to attack. The demons are going to attack the weakest part of you, because your soul is that valuable. So I think if people have that perspective, it's going to help a lot. And the world isn't going to get any better with the righteous ones acting wicked. It's just a little bit of perspective I'm trying to have.